crazy question. Would you actually drive blindfolded? Well, it turns out many people actually do. Many investors do drive blindfolded. They have no clue where they're headed to. They have no clue what terrain they're driving in. They have no clue about their journey. And so one of the things we're going to do is in this training, we're going to remove that blindfold from you, and you're going to end up having a lot more clarity, a lot more confidence on your journey. And so we're going to keep it high level, but it's really important that you know the journey you're on and removing that blindfold. So with that, let's start with the big picture. Every single journey has three parts. Number one is the actual journey itself, the path you're driving on. The second one is the vehicle that you're driving. This is what we call the capital amplifier in our community. Finally, you have the driver. That's you, the wealth builder. So what you have to do, you have to go in this sequence from left to right. You have to know the path that you're on, then pick the right vehicle, right, to drive on the right terrain. And finally, as a driver, you need to know what to expect on this journey. Now, in a previous video, we talked about this. Everything is supported by a strong support system, which we'll expand on in a future video. In this video, in this training video, we're going to focus on the path, the journey, your wealth journey. Because once you have some clarity, once you remove the blindfold from that, it's going to help you with everything else on your journey. So let's dive in and look at the first idea here. The path itself chooses the vehicle, not the other way around. What do I mean by that? If you are driving, if you're headed to, say, the mountains or to a rocky trail, would you pick a race car to drive there? Obviously not. You would pick a four-wheel drive to drive in that terrain. So really, the terrain that you're driving on dictates what car. If you're going to be going to a racetrack, driving in a racetrack, you would be picking a race car, right? So you always have to know what is the terrain, what is the path that I'm on, and pick the right vehicle. It always starts with the path, understanding the journey. The second part is that you as a driver, great drivers expect the terrain. So imagine now you're driving on, or you're expected to drive on a freeway. You're expecting the whole thing's going to be a nice highway, no one on it. And then you get to a part that's very rocky, right? And you find yourself in a very uncomfortable place. It's not because you can't drive. It's because you weren't expecting that. So as a driver, the next most important thing is knowing what to expect. Because now that you have the right vehicle for the right terrain and having the right expectations, you know what to expect on this journey. Then you're going to match all of these things. So everything again starts with what? The terrain, the path, the journey. So know the journey, then build the system. And that's exactly what we're going to do in this training. So with that, let's go ahead and dive in and start looking at the big picture, and then later the three phases, because the three phases dictate everything on your journey. Okay, so what I did here is I just went to our website. The link is right below this. It's finance.com, FYNANC.com. So I'm going to start high level, and I'm going to show you a tool here that you're going to be able to use. So high level, I want you to look at this here. This orange line is your target. This is your what's called freedom line. This is the amount of assets you must have to be able to generate the passive income goal you want. The blue line is your journey line. This is your efforts. This is what you're doing right now. And you can see here it's barely making a dent. And really the goal here is to, before I show you the tool, is you want to take your journey line and really bend the line. You see this? And again, you want your journey line to cross the freedom line. Once it crosses it, that means you have enough assets to be able to generate the passive income. So let's go ahead and go to the website right now, and you can click on this where it says access tool. In fact, the link will be right below this video. And let's start with understanding the big picture here. So you'll see here we have numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'm not going to cover too much 3 and 4 because these are just the data points for this chart. So what you're going to do here is you're going to enter your annual passive income. Let's just say in this case it's 120,000. Your annual salary, let's just say it's 100,000. Your expected annual, so whatever here you're not sure about, just keep them because these are good defaults. So expected annual salary increase, let's just say it's 5%. If you know, you can update it. Annual inflation rate, you can put whatever you want. 5% is a good number. Percentage of income you invest. What percentage of this 100,000 are you actually investing? It could be 5%, it could be 10%. We'll try different numbers here in a second. And what do you expect your portfolio to generate in terms of yield? Okay, let's just say 8%. Now, again, if you're not sure, just keep them as defaults. Now, what I want you to do here is look at this chart here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the target. This blue line is your effort. This is the amount of capital that you're generating from this. It doesn't show you the assets. You'll understand why in a minute. This is the capital that you are able to generate, and you can see here the numbers from here. And when you add the freedom line, again, this is the blue one. The blue line is the journey line. The orange line, that's the freedom line. This is the target. Now, the reason I'm showing you this is because this shows you the essential journey you're on. This blue line needs to intersect this orange line, the freedom line. And it turns out that we live in what we call, you'll see it up here, in a compounding world. What that means is that the finish line is moving faster than we can actually generate cash to invest. So I want you to look at this here and look at the amount needed. In this case, it's 1.5 million. The following year, it's 75,000 more. And as you continue going up, it's now increasing by $100,000 or more per year. What does that mean? That means you have to buy $100,000 or more in assets every year. This is the finish line, but you are only generating roughly, you can see here, your increase is maybe 5, 6, 10,000, whatever you end up putting in here. Let's just say you're able to save 10%. You'll see it doesn't make a difference. This blue line never intersects the orange line. Now, here's what happens. People will say, well, how come you're not putting the assets in here? The fundamental problem is that once you understand that when people look at the assets and it looks divergent, meaning it's not intersecting, they start blaming the asset. But the underlying problem is the capital itself. This is increasing by 100,000 or more a year, every year. Your finish line is moving $100,000 every year, but you are only moving forward $5,000 or $10,000. And you can see this here. This shows you what are you doing to achieve your passive income. This is the effort. Down here is what's needed. This is the orange line. This is the finish line. And notice here, it's increasing by roughly $100,000. You see that every year. But how much are you saving every year? You're saving so little money. Okay, and you'll see here, this is the cumulative, the total. After 10 years, you've only saved $125,000 to invest. So the problem isn't the asset. The problem is the capital. You don't have enough capital. So this is where the strategies and the phases come into play. We'll talk about those. But this is what you have to understand now, is go to this website and put your numbers in here and understand how much is this increasing every year, and what you should be doing. Think of it in terms of target. This is the target. You have to be moving faster than this. So let's go back to what you want to do is bend the line so fast to intersect this, and it might seem impossible, but it actually is possible. You just have to know what you're doing. So go ahead and do this, and know that there's two parts here. Number one is the freedom line, and number two is the journey line. And your goal, your whole journey is defined by these two lines, your freedom line and your journey line. And your goal is to bend the journey line to intersect the freedom line. That is the number one goal and the only goal. The question is, how do you do it? We'll discuss that in the next section here. So with that, go ahead right now, pause this video if you want to, click on the link below, go here, plot this out, and know what the numbers are. Now we will start thinking about the phases. So let's go ahead and dive into that next. Okay, so now that you understand that we live in a compounding world, but our efforts are relatively linear, let's take this to the next level. So quick review here. Our goal is to bend the line. This is what we want from our journey line, because the freedom line is right there. It's still moving. Whether we do anything or not, it's still moving. So think of this as a finish line. So let's go ahead and now take this and break it up into the 3 phases to get to our financial goals. And so here's how this works. In this chart, the green line, again, is the journey line. I'm not showing the freedom line at this point because the freedom line is somewhere in here. And so the way this works is, think of this as today on the left side, and this is your goal. And your goal is to bend the journey line as much as possible. And then you're going to get to a point where you're going to slow it down, and you'll see what I mean by that. Get your goals, and then I'll explain what this stuff here in a minute. So let's divide this into the 3 phases. So you see this vertical line. This divides the 2 phases in the beginning. Phase 1 is your goal is to increase your capital. We call it grow capital phase. Your single focus is increase your total assets really by increasing and focusing on the capital. This phase focuses on rapidly increasing your capital. Once you get to a certain point, which is very close to the total assets you need, then you're going to start investing it. So this is the invest capital phase. This phase is about strategically acquiring assets that generate good, sustainable returns. Once you get to this goal, your financial goals, now you're generating the passive income you want. You need to make sure you withdraw money out correctly. So that is where phase 3 comes in. This is the preserve capital phase, and it is critical. Here's what will happen. One of 3 things can happen. The blue line is you maintaining the purchasing power. That means you still have your capital growing just enough to be able to buy the same things you were able to buy when you reached your goals. So for example, if your goal was $120,000 a year, this is increasing slightly every year so that you can still buy the same things you were able to when you had the 120. So for example, later on here in year 3, year 4, it might be 130, 140, but it is keeping up with inflation. The green line is where you're increasing your purchasing power. That means your ability to buy things is increasing over time. That's what you want. You want either the blue line or anything above the blue line. The red line says you reach your goals, but now you're taking money out incorrectly. And you're taking maybe too much principal. And so the way you withdraw money is critical. And if you're not careful, this is what can happen. You can start losing your purchasing power a lot, okay, or even run out of money. That's where preserve capital comes in. So we're not going to worry about that right now. What you need to focus on are the 2 phases to get to your goal: grow capital and invest capital. So you have to ask yourself now the strategy question. What strategies do I need to grow capital? What strategy in phase 2 do I need to invest and sustain that sustainable returns? And so this is where things become very interesting. And this is where you realize that there are specific set of strategies for grow capital and different strategies for invest capital. And notice here how slow this thing is here. Now, what's interesting is most investors skip the whole grow capital and they go to invest. And they wonder, why is it that things feel so slow? Because you're in the wrong, you skip the most important phase, which is grow capital. This is where you grow enough capital where you have, let's just say 2, 3, 4 million in assets, and then you start investing it correctly. Okay, so that's why it's really important that you know what phase you're in. Therefore, what strategies dictate the outcome for that phase, and then you see here, then you move into preserve when you reach your goals. So let's summarize the wealth journey. There are 3 points you need to know. Number 1, we live in a compounding world, but our efforts are linear. You cannot save enough money to keep up with the compounding world. It is practically impossible. So the question is, how do you compound capital to keep up with the compounding world and actually do better than that? That's the growth phase we talked about. That's where the 3 phases come in. Grow capital, invest capital, and preserve capital. Each one has a very specific outcome, and you should know which phase you're in. But just know that the vehicle you drive needs to be aligned with the phases and the outcome of the phases. And the third part is know your milestones. Now, we haven't covered those yet. We'll cover that in a future video. And just know, naturally, that the wealth journey has uneven terrain. As you know, any market you're in, whether it's real estate or stocks or whatever it is, nothing is a freeway where it's just nice freeway with no one else on it. There is uneven terrain. There are dips and different things going on there. You need to know that that's part of the journey. Now that you understand the wealth journey, a big picture here, the question is, how do you build a vehicle that can take you on this journey now that you have visibility into your journey? So let's talk about that. Know where you're going. Now you have a good idea of what the terrain looks like. Again, this is still high level. Now you have to choose the right vehicle given what you just learned, and you need to learn to drive it as a driver, as a wealth builder, through this uneven terrain and through this different phases of your journey. So in summary, every wealth journey has 3 phases. Again, we just touched on these. The wealth journey, you need the vehicle, and obviously you, the driver. And you need to have a strong support system. We just touched on your path. And the next question then is, so given the path and the journey, what's the vehicle look like? How do I build this? How do I choose a vehicle? And finally, how do I drive it? So the next step for you is really understanding the vehicle. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you, there are links below this video. You have really 2 steps. The first step is you can download a free Capital Amplifier Blueprint, a PDF that we put together for you. The other thing is you can go back and watch a Finance Capital Amplifier System YouTube video I put together for you. And the link is right below this. This will now make more sense as you think about these 3 parts of your journey. So if you're enjoying this content, go ahead and like and subscribe and share this with other investors that you know. And let's keep you going on this journey. So with that, I'll see you soon. Take care.